They say that revenge is a dish best served cold. It fills you with a sheer sense of determination to overpower and dominate your opponents. Of course, I'm not saying it's good when it's not a healthy rivalry, but it only serves as a big motivator, especially for athletes and fighters who are constantly exposed to the competitive scene. That said, even people at the top 5 of their field like Michael Jordan is no exception to this. So today, we're bringing you 5 times that he sought revenge. Before we start, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 1. Jeff Van Gundy. Just because you're not a player doesn't mean you're safe. Coach Jeff Van Gundy of the New York Knicks made an offhand comment at an interview where he said that Jordan pretends to fraternize with his opponents during off-court to get them to lower their guard. He further stated that he softens them up only to give himself an advantage in the game. Naturally, this didn't go over well when it reached Michael Jordan's ears. Fortunately for the player, he would get his chance at payback when his team was scheduled to go up against the Knicks. While they prepared for the game that morning, Van Gundy's quotes were plastered all over the newspaper to escalate the drama. When the ball was thrown into the air, Jordan turned into a beast, scoring hoop after hoop, not forgetting to glance at the coach several times throughout the game. The 51-point match ended with Jordan's indisputable victory. It didn't quite end there though, since Michael stuck around long after the game to curse at Van Gundy, who was still reeling from the crushing defeat. Number 2. George Karl. Not even a week later after the Van Gundy incident, another coach went up and made a statement against the player. This time it was Supersonics coach George Karl, who commented about Jordan changing his play style to that of a jump shooter to avoid getting hurt while going up to the hoop. He followed this up by saying that the player was slowly losing the ability to dunk and was therefore protecting himself from his later career by playing more cautiously. He described it ironically as the air leave Jordan. This time though, Jordan didn't want to get on the court before giving George a piece of his mind. He made a statement that he, quote, wasn't afraid to go anywhere on the court, end quote. And that sentiment was unanimous even amongst other players, saying that if they were George, they'd watch their mouth when talking about Jordan's game. When the match finally came around, Michael made sure that his shots were what Coach Karl had said. They were jump shots, making basket after basket, with a jump shot in pure mockery of the coach's statements weeks before. And what kind of revenge would it be if he stopped there? Aside from dominating the entire night, he would also make long-distance shots right in front of the coach just to rub it in. Needless to say, Jordan's team won with the player getting 45 points over the course of the night. Number 3. John Calipari. John Calipari was the former coach of the Nets. Yes, the GOATs had a lot of beef with coaches, who this time took the advice and didn't make unnecessary comments. But as it's been known, it doesn't take much to rile up the superstar. During their match, Jordan's team had already secured 2 wins out of 3 for the preliminary rounds. But seeing as the previous games had been a close fight between the teams, the Nets remained optimistic. Little did they know that when the superstars determined to win, he would use any and everything to fuel him. What the player held on to this time was the way Coach Calipari ran along the sidelines screaming at his team. This behavior irked his airness, and what happened next was practically routine for him. MJ closed out the match with their 3rd win in a row and scored 38 points. After the game, Coach Calipari would make a statement about the way Michael stared at him throughout the game, saying that he didn't say anything, and that if there's one thing he knew as a coach, it was never to say anything bad about Michael Jordan. Number 2. Brian Russell. Sometimes you're like Calipari, and you get hit even without asking for it, but that's not the case for Utah Jazz's Brian Russell. Now this all happened in Michael Jordan's baseball phase, with Brian having a match with Jordan's former team, the Chicago Bulls. He decided that he would get a little bit more training at the gym before the big match. And who should he meet there but Michael Jordan himself, lifting weights with his basketball trainer. There are a lot of things you could do in this situation, a lot of proper normal things. Russell, however, chose none of these. He went up to the man and asked him point blank why he quit basketball, and that he wished he could play him since he knows he could block him at every turn. Michael seemed to laugh it off at the gym, but as we've all learned by now, he never forgives nor forgets. 2 years later, upon his return to basketball, Brian and Michael would cross paths again in an official game this time. When the ball was tossed in the air, Jordan took his time, looked Brian in the eye, and asked him if he still remembered their conversation 2 years earlier. Brian didn't get the chance to retort much, as they lost horribly in that game. But if you think it was over, then you're sorely mistaken, since not more than 2 years later, they went head-to-head again, with Jordan completely dominating the game to no one's surprise. Moral of this and every other story on the list: never say anything bad about Michael Jordan. Number 1. Isaiah Thomas. His airness wasn't just good at the game, he looked good while playing too. A star by every definition of the word, he quickly climbed up the rookie ladder and made it as a beginning on the All-Star team. On his first game on the team though, he would be the victim of what was later known as the freeze-out. It's said that for one reason or another, Isaiah Thomas from the Pistons actually hatched a plan with his team to make sure Jordan would never get a hold of the ball for the entire game. It worked. Jordan only scored a total of 7 points for the whole game. 2 nights later, Jordan made a grand comeback, scoring a total of 49 points for his team, a far cry from the previous match. The rumored incident later formed a rivalry between Thomas and Jordan in a match involving the two a few years later. Isaiah's team lost and walked away from the court without shaking hands. The next thing you know, Thomas was being skipped over when they were putting together the Olympic team that year. Fans have speculated that the reason for this was because of Jordan's statement that he wouldn't play on the Olympic team with Isaiah. If that was true, it's truly scary what the man was capable of when he seeks revenge. And that's it for the 5 times Michael Jordan sought revenge. So what do you think? Let us know your opinions and thoughts in the comments section below. And if you're new to the channel, give us a like as it helps us out a lot. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more videos just like this one.